Habar Ghani. My name is Tahira, and on behalf of Kwanzaa Charlotte, I will be presenting our annual Kwanzaa History Workshop, a celebration of family, community, and culture. And I am joined by who will, Sister Elena, I'm sorry, who will be providing our sign language interpretation. Asante Sana, Sister Elena. It is our tradition at Kwanzaa Charlotte to begin each of our Kwanzaa celebration with an African drum circle. And in keeping with that tradition, I will show you a short snippet of a Kwanzaa celebration from 2019, where we have some great brothers providing the drumming for us for our drum circle. Not, not sure if you could hear that. Little technical difficulties right there. My apologies. So, why do we study history? Dr. John Henrik Clark says we study history. So, why do we study history? My apologies. So, why do we study history? Dr. John Henrik Clark says history is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It is also a compass that people use to find themselves on the map of human geography. History tells a people where they have been and what they have been, where they are and what they are. Most important, history tells a people where they still must go, what they still must be. The relationship of history to the people is the same as the relationship of a mother to her child. All history is a current event. Here's a picture of Dr. Maulana Karinga, the creator and founder of Kwanzaa. And of history, he says we study it for three reasons: to learn its lessons, to absorb its spirit, and to emulate its highest achievements. So if you've heard me say Habar Ghani and Asante Sana, they are both Kiswahili terms, and we use Kiswahili throughout the Kwanzaa holiday and our Kwanzaa celebration. So I want to make sure that you are familiar with them. So when you hear Habar Ghani, or when someone says Habar Ghani to you, it means what news. And when it is said to you, your response should be the key principle for that particular day. So, for instance, on December the 26th, when someone says Habar Ghani, you would respond with Umoja, which is Kiswahili for unity. And Asante Sana, this means thank you very much. An example of that being used would be Asante Sana for listening to this presentation. The origin of Kwanzaa. The origin of Kwanzaa begins with the African origin of civilization in the Nile Valley, where there were agricultural celebrations during both the pre dynastic and dynastic periods. The holiday of Kwanzaa is a product of creative cultural synthesis. The continental African components of Kwanzaa are a synthesis of various cultural values and practices from different continental African peoples. The first fruit celebrations, Kwanzaa comes from the Kiswahili phrase Matunda ya Kwanzaa, Matunda meaning fruits, ya Kwanzaa meaning first. And they were recorded in African history as far back as Kemet and Nubia. The first fruit celebrations were celebrated among African civilizations, empires, kingdoms, and society, such as Ashantiland, Yorubaland, Zulu, Swaziland, Matabele, and Lovedu. And what Dr. Karinga found when he was studying the continent for these first fruit celebrations were that there are at least five common sets of values and practices central to African first fruit celebrations. which informed the development of Kwanzaa. So, in your celebration of Kwanzaa or any celebration of Kwanzaa, these five practices and values should be incorporated. The first is the ingathering of people, the second being reverence for the creator and creation. The third is a commemoration of the past. The fourth is a recommitment to our highest ideals. And the fifth is the celebration of the good. So Matunda Ya Kwanzaa, if you notice, only had one A. And Dr. Maulana Karinga explains the extra A. He says Kwanzaa's extra A evolved as a result of a particular history of the US organization. It was done as an expression of African values in order to accommodate the wishes and inspire the creativity of our children. At the very beginning of us, the seven children in the organization wanted to put on a program in which each of them represented and explained a letter of Kwanzaa. Since Kwanzaa has only six letters, we added an extra A to make it seven. The US organization, capital U, lowercase s, is a Pan African organization founded on September 7th, 1965, by Maulana Karinga and Hakeem Jamal, who was a cousin of Malcolm X. Pan Africanism is a philosophy and practice which affirms the common history, culture, interests, and struggle of all African people. Dr. Karinga says that in the 60s, the Black movement after 1965 was defined by its thrust to return to the source, to go back to Black. It stressed the rescue and reconstruction of African history and culture, redefinition of ourselves and our culture, and a restructuring of the goals and purpose of our struggle for liberation and a higher level of human life based on an Afrocentric model. So if you recall seeing any pictures from the 60s from our Black liberation activists, people that were engaged in the struggle, or if you Google Asada Shakur, Angela Davis, Kwame Ture, and H. Rap Brown, you will have seen them in dashikis, and many of them had their hair in the natural state or wearing afros. That is them going back to the source, going back to Black. Kwanzaa is a product of the 1960s African American struggle for justice, power, and liberation. And one example of those struggles is pictured here, where you see Dr. Martin Luther King at the March on Washington in 1963. Some more examples would be our esteemed ancestor, Malcolm X, which is pictured above, and then our esteemed ancestor, Sister Amelia Boynton Robinson, here at the end of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. This is on Bloody Sunday. Without these struggles, there is no Kwanzaa. The 1960s were a time of urban rebellion as a response to police brutality and oppression. The Watts Rebellion in August 1965 was a key factor that led to the formation of the US organization. US and the Black Liberation Movement. US argued that the key crisis in Black life was the cultural crisis, views and values, what we think and how we act. A cultural revolution was necessary. Dr. Karinga then introduced the Nguza Saba as the key component to our cultural revolution. The origins of Kwanzaa based on Kawaiita theory. Kawaiita is the philosophy out of which Kwanzaa is created. It teaches that all we think and do should be based on tradition and reason, which are in turn rooted in practice. Tradition is then defined as our grounding, our cultural anchor, and therefore our starting point. And then reason is necessary critical thought about our tradition, which enables us to select, preserve, and build on the best of what we have achieved and produced. For in the final analysis, practice proves everything. It is both the test of reason and tradition. So, on December the 26th, 1966, to help facilitate the Cultural Revolution to reaffirm and restore our African heritage and culture, Dr. Karinga and the US organization introduced Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa was created to address the absence of non heroic holidays in the national African American community. Kwanzaa was created to serve as a regular communal celebration which reaffirmed and reinforced the bonds between us as a people. Kwanzaa was created as an act of cultural self determination, as a self conscious statement of our cultural truth as an African people. So, of the Nguzu Saba, Dr. Karinga says the Nguzu Saba were projected as the moral minimum set of African values that African Americans needed in order to build on and strengthen our family, community, and culture, and become a self-conscious social force in the struggle of control in the struggle to control their destiny and daily lives. So, the moral minimum set of values. So the seven principles which make up the Nguzu Saba are as follows. On the first night, December the 26th, the principle that we celebrate is Umoja, which is Kiswahili for unity. And it is to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Kujichagulia is self determination, and it is to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Ujima is the third principle, and it is Kiswahili for collective work and responsibility. And it is to build and maintain our community together and to make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. The fourth principle is Ujamaa, which is cooperative economics, and it is to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses and to profit from them together. The fifth principle is Nia, which is Kiswahili for purpose. It is defined as to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Kaumba is Kiswahili for creativity, and it is to do always as much as we can and the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. And the final principle celebrated on January 1st is Imani, which is Kiswahili for faith. It is to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. These seven principles, again, are the moral minimum set of values that we need to incorporate to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Here's a picture of a Kanara and the Mashuma Saba, which are the seven candles, the Kanara being the candle holder. And I just want to make sure you know that what we do is we have a black, a red, and green candle, three red, three black, three red, three green, one black. And on each night, we light a candle for the principle, and we're just in lighting it, we're giving light and life to that principle that we are celebrating for that day. So by January 1st, the last day of Kwanzaa, all seven candles should have been lit. If we celebrate and incorporate the seven principles of the Nguzu Saba as we're supposed to, we'll have to do that using Harambe and all pulling together. And Harambe is, we say 7 Harambes at the end of each Kwanzaa celebration. And that's just us calling together, coming together, saying we're going to all pull together to restore our people to our traditional greatness. And this is just a picture from one of our celebrations in the past. Asante Sana for listening to this presentation. Badu Mampambanu, the struggle continues.